how is consulting in sustainability space different than a normal business consulting?
So we help companies end to end on sustainability and ESG. It can be right from reporting to improving their performance to help them achieve a net zero and have a decarbonization strategy.
And what about green skill? Because this is
Yes.
also one thing that when I was researching, we found that there's a buzz about it. What is green skill?
Everything and anything that falls under the sustainability bucket, you can categorize that as green.
Suppose somebody is either a fresher or somebody who's already work experience but want to enter into this space. What should be his roadmap?
Used to, or they need to understand what is ESG and sustainability, and there are a lot of courses and a lot of free courses also available, and then a certification is important.
If I want to succeed in the consulting space specific to sustainability, what 2 or 3 things I should keep in mind?
If you want to succeed in the consulting space, I would personally say
Hello guys, I hope everybody is doing good. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become a better version of themselves. And I also help students who are preparing for global competitive exams like CFA, FRM, and SCR. And as a part of the journey, I'm also meeting with a lot of industry people and veterans trying to understand what is happening in different finance roles. And today I have with me Raghav, Mr. Raghav Sarda, and he's going to be talking about his entire journey into the consulting space and how he entered into the ESG consulting side and what is happening into that area. So first of all, thank you, Raghav, for taking out time and giving your insight on this topic. For the benefit of the audience, if we can have a quick snapshot on your career journey.
yeah. Firstly, thank you so much, Ganesh, for having me here. So I started off as a business consulting analyst, right?
Okay.
Way back, say 15 years back, right? So obviously was into understanding various businesses and various processes, right?
Mhm.
A few years back, when this entire thing on sustainability and ESG, started picking up, right? So obviously there was a lot of buzzword, right, that was going on in the market. I wanted to understand and get a little more in depth on this subject. That's when I started reading, understanding the subject, what it exactly meant. And what really triggered was when we look at how things are moving globally in India, right? And how we can start feeling the effect of climate change is probably when I realized that this is the future, right? This is
Okay.
something that will be there for the next 20, 30 odd years, right? Just to give you an example, net zero, all companies need to have a net zero, all countries need to have a net zero by 2050, right? That means all companies need to have a net zero. India has taken the stand of 2070.
Right.
Ultimately, it will drill down to all the Indian companies, right? And I personally feel that sustainability is the way forward, right? If you're not sustainable, you will not be able to work longer.
Okay.
So I think that was a few triggers, and as I studied more on this subject, right, on sustainability, ESG, met people, read about it, I think it got clear that going forward, embedding sustainability into business processes is the key for any business to survive and
Okay.
to thrive in the long run.
And you've also done SCR and you've also done
Yeah.
CFA ESG.
Yeah, so I've done my sustainability and climate risk from Gartner Institute. I've also done my CFA ESG investing. I think fantastic courses, very, very good insights. And there are obviously a lot of free courses available,
Right.
right? UN has their own. So if someone is starting off, if they want to understand the topic and get to understand what is ESG, what is sustainability, what all does it cover, I think there are a lot of material available in the market.
Right, right. But for the audience, how is consulting in sustainability space different than a normal business consulting?
It's very exciting because we help companies build a sustainability strategy, help
Okay.
them understand what they want to achieve, how do they get there, right? So each company to its own, everyone has their own unique set of journey. Some of them are just starting, some of them are quite mature, right?
Mhm.
So we help companies end to end on sustainability and ESG. It can be right from reporting to improving their performance, to help them achieve a net zero and have a decarbonization strategy, to help them with value chain assessment, to do climate risk assessment for them, to biodiversity impact assessment, to do social impact assessment, and to have normal governance structure in place on how a sustainability data or sustainability information would flow, right? And how would your governance structure look like?
Okay.
Because it's a very new subject, right? like financial reporting has been there for years,
Ages,
right. So that, how do you get that same rigor and that same importance to non-financial reporting? Because ultimately, if you look at what SEBI is trying to do, right? So if I just give you an example, SEBI, our capital markets regulator, has mandated something called a BRSR, which is business sustainability and
Yeah, the business responsibility.
responsibility reporting, right? So what they are saying is, for the top 1,000 companies, they need to start reporting on sustainability. So there are various parameters, around 140, 150 odd questions that they need to report on, and not only report but also get an assurance statement, right? So the rigor, same like we have in financial reporting, needs to happen in non-financial reporting now. So that is where the world is moving, and SEBI is probably one of the first few. India is one of the first few countries to have mandated this. It's now getting global, where even the EU is trying to do that for their top companies, and slowly I think it will move from 1,000 to a broader set of companies, right?
Okay, but what has been the changes? Like initially, when we were
Yeah,
talking before,
yeah.
that the
Yeah,
reporting
yeah,
requirement was
yeah.
slightly different, and
Yes,
now
yes.
what has been the change?
In India, if I have to say, right? So earlier this was known as a BRR, Business Responsibility Report, right? Which was voluntary in nature for the top 100 companies.
Okay.
Few years later, it moved to top 250 companies, again voluntary. Then they expanded to 500 companies, and just a few years back, they've got it to top 1,000 companies as per market cap. But it's become mandatory now, right?
Okay.
So you have no choice. If you're in the top 1,000 companies as per market cap, you have to report on the BRSR parameters annually along with your annual report, right? Plus, if you're in the top 250, assurance is mandatory for you, right? So you have to get an assurance statement from a third party saying that whatever numbers you're reporting are accurate and correct as per the methodology prescribed by SEBI, right? And obviously now they've gone one step ahead, and SEBI is now asking companies to start reporting on value chain also, right? Obviously there is still some clarity to be obtained, but they're saying that, look, you have to report your BRSR, but you have to also get certain inputs from your suppliers and from your customers on these similar parameters that you're reporting on. Get information from the top suppliers and top customers, put it as part of your reporting. So that is the seriousness, that is the way things have moved in the past few years, right? And I think we are just getting started, right? There is still lots to be done, because like I mentioned, right, if you're not sustainable, you will not be able to survive, right? And probably this is the biggest responsibility of this generation, biggest responsibility of mankind today, is ensuring that, we are able to get to net zero, we are able to reduce our emissions for the future generations to come. So whatever decisions we make in these years are going to echo for centuries to follow.
Interesting. At the start, you mentioned that when we talk about consulting, you mentioned certain things that you do, like improvement and all. Now, I want you to, if possible, for you to explain each of them for the audience, because there are a lot of people who want to make career into consulting.
Right.
So, when we look at consulting and sustainability, what all different areas are there?
Right. So firstly, I'll try to explain ESG and sustainability, right? Because a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of places that people use it interchangeably, which is not the case, right? So sustainability, to put it very simply, is a broader umbrella, right, which covers everything and anything which falls under people and planet, right? So how do you take care of people and planet, right? So that's sustainability. ESG, on the other hand, is a matrix, right, to measure your performance on various parameters of sustainability. So E stands for environmental, S stands for social, and G stands for governance. So there are various parameters, and there are various standards available in the market, global standards, Indian standards.
TCM.
Right. So these are all standards, right, which you can refer to publish on ESG. And so ESG, the term ESG was coined by the UN in 2005, right? And then they variously, obviously, they came up with standards, and then regionally there were a lot of standards that came up. Like India has their own standard, the EU has, and so and so forth. Now, what is happening is the IFRS board, the financial reporting board, is now has created its own sister concern. It's called the ISSB board, International Sustainability Standards Board, right? Where they're trying to harmonize the reporting across the globe, right? So if an investor wants to compare a company in the US and a company in India, right, on similar platform, how do they do that, right? So
Right.
there'll be one standard reporting, right, across the globe,
Right.
going forward, and no nation-wide reporting, right? So this is what the world is moving towards, and there are obviously various countries who adopted it, right?
Okay.
And it'll come, they'll enforce it as making it mandatory. Now, the other part of your question, moving on, is within the entire ESG and sustainability. Like I mentioned, there are various things that one can look at, right?
Okay.
And you need not be a particular someone from a particular field on environment to work on ESG and sustainability, because there are so many things to it, right? So I'll give you an example. Today, there are lawyers who we need to help us decode the law on climate and sustainability, which is changing very rapidly.
Okay.
We need people who are good with content writing to help us prepare a sustainability report, right? Which was
Okay.
unheard of a few years back, right? Having a
Right.
sustainability report. We need environmentalists to help us understand carbon accounting, right? Very, very important. How do you know what is your carbon footprint? How do you reduce it,
Right.
right? So we want environmentalists for that. We need, I would say, CAs and MBAs to understand risk. So climate risk. How do you
Okay.
embed ESG risk into your business, right? How do you have climate risk quantified so that you can make the correct actions,
Right.
right? How does a CA understand what is the cost benefit analysis of having similar investments, right? Or capex. If you want to do a capex, what are the cost benefit analysis on that?
Right.
We need engineers, right? Mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, to help us implement these decarbonization levers of having solar plants. Where do you put up a solar plant? What
Okay.
would be the energy efficiency? How much sunlight would you receive, right? What I'm trying to say here is sustainability and ESG is a very broad topic, right?
Okay.
People who want to pivot from different careers can definitely do that if they have the liking for that subject, right? And I would say that this is the future, right? Going forward, this needs to be embedded in all aspects of a business, right?
Yes.
So let's take buy, make, move, sell, right? So if you're buying, your procurement needs to have sustainability lens to it. So you procure sustainable materials.
Right.
If you're making something, the process of making needs to have a sustainability element, right? You're optimizing energy efficiently. The water waste is as low as possible. If you want to move something, right? So buy, make, move. If you want to move something, your logistics and supply chain comes in the picture, right? And then if you sell something, right, how do you sell a sustainable product? So your marketing comes there, right, without any greenwashing, right? So the entire aspect of buy, make, move, sell, and all business processes, be it procurement that we spoke about, be it supply chain, be it your logistics, be it your finance, be it your marketing, be it HR, because sustainability is not only related to climate, it's also people, right?
People, yes.
Right. So people is again the social, the S on the ESG, S, very important. So it touches upon all functions of the organization, right? So it needs to be embedded in your day-to-day activity, into day-to-day decision making of a business.
Interesting. And very likely when you mentioned that there are people from variety of
Yes.
background coming.
Yes.
Because I see a lot of questions that, okay, I have done law. How can I work into this space?
Yes.
Right. And like you said, mechanical engineer. So tech is also going to be big.
Very, very important, right? So again, it's a team sport, like I mentioned, right? So you have to work with people from all functions, right? And tech is a very, very important enabler to this, right? So like since years we have these financial reporting platforms, like the Tally and the SAPs and all have been around for a while.
Right.
How do you have a tech for non-financial reporting? So how do you start calculating your carbon emission? So having an emission calculator in place. How do you start measuring water, recording water, reporting water? Very new language, right? No one's ever thought of recording, reporting a few years back, right?
Right.
What are the various types of waste categories? What are you doing with waste? So SEBI is asking for such information. SEBI is asking you, and not only SEBI, obviously across the globe, countries are asking how much waste, how are you disposing of your waste?
Okay.
Very, very important. That has a direct impact on the environment, right?
Right.
What are you doing for your people, right? So earlier we always used to say, what is the representation of female in your organization? How do you maintain diversity? SEBI has gone one step ahead and is asking, don't only give me the number of people in the organization, also tell me how much are you paying as part of your total gross salary that you're paying overall. So what is the
Okay.
gross salary to women as part of the total gross salary, right? How many differently able people are you hiring, right? How much procurement today are you doing from MSMEs and the small businesses? So these are certain KPIs that need to be reported,
Okay.
right? And that's where your tech plays a very big role here, right? So you have to have a separate tech for non-financial reporting, which will capture this information, give out the management on a live basis, month on month, rather than doing this activity at the end of the year, having this activity done on a month on month basis, where you can see these KPIs and act upon that, improve on that.
Right. Interesting. Now, what is the new thing or the future trend that we see in this space? Something exciting, because majority of the time when I hear that the opportunities or job opportunities are explicitly to big four or top companies who are looking into this sustainability. So, what is happening outside?
So again, there are obviously a lot of opportunities with big fours and with the companies, but I think what we are missing here is the climate tech startup. It's a massive space. There
Okay.
are such young people and doing such good work, right? And which they're actually making a lot of sense. I'll give you some examples here. There is this startup which is working on food waste, right?
Hmm.
So it analyzes the food waste, especially for hospitality sector, restaurants and hotels and all. So where they analyze their food waste, so you have to just upload a picture. They'll analyze the food waste. They'll identify what the ingredients are, and they'll give feedback to the chef and the procurement team that going forward, this is how you should plan your procurement, right? So you procure less, you make less, which leads to less food wastages, which
Wow.
indirectly leads to cost saving, right? So, like I said, embedding sustainability into your business decisions is very critical, right? Similarly, there's a startup which works on a very good example of how do you leverage Gen AI to sustainability, right? How do you marry the two? So, with the help of Gen AI, they are able to achieve a balance between the temperature of the aircon, which is your ACs, and the fan,
Okay.
thereby reducing the consumption of AC. So
Okay.
though you'll be able to maintain the temperature that you need, but with the help of fan and ACs working in tandem, right?
Okay.
So they'll regulate the speed of the fan as well as regulate the speed of the ACs, right?
Okay.
And then again, there are various such startups. There are some startups who are helping our farmers to be, analyzing historical data, various data sets
Okay.
in terms of predictive climate-related data sets, where they're helping them to better plan their harvesting, right? So climate patterns, I would say, or what are various different types of hazards that a farmer may experience
Okay.
over a period of time. By analyzing past historical data, they can predict how they should plan. So I'm saying this space is so unique, right? And there are so much there's so much happening. Once you enter this space, you'll realize that there are so many
Okay.
people doing their bit, right? There are various startups on waste and on water. That's happening. Yeah.
And what about green skill? Because this is
Yes.
also one thing that when I was researching, we found that there's a buzz about it.
Yes.
What is green skill?
So green skill is again, like I mentioned, everything and anything that falls under the sustainability bucket. You can categorize that as green skill, and there are various things that people do, right? From reporting, from decarbonization to supply chain, right? So how do you embed? So green skills is again, and I'd like to mention here some statistics by ADP, right? So ADP is one of the largest research institute, right?
Okay.
They are a data driven research firm that does research on various aspects of workforce and workplaces, right? So they came on record and they said that the demand for green skills is outpacing the talent pool available for green skills, right?
Oh, okay.
They also made a very important statement. They said the global south is lagging far behind the global north in terms of green skills.
Okay.
The WEF has come up and said last year that they've analyzed some data and they've said that any job that would require one of the green skills, right, any of the green skills, is growing at a pace of 22% compared to the pool of resources, which is growing at 12%. So there
Okay.
is a big mismatch in terms of the demand and in terms of what we have as talent pool on in terms of green skills. So I think this is definitely something for the future, and something that, if someone is looking to make this a full time career, I think this is the best time to enter,
Okay.
because there is abundant opportunity, right? There is so much that you can do, right? You just have to figure out what your calling is, right? And if it
Okay.
really excites you.
Now, with respect to suppose somebody is either a fresher or somebody who is already work experience but want to enter into this space, what should be his roadmap?
Right, right. So if you're a fresher, right? So let's take a fresher first. I think freshers need to first get themselves used to, or they need to understand what is ESG and sustainability. And there are a lot of courses and a lot of free courses also available. And then a certification is important
Hmm.
to land your first job. I think having a SCR or a ESG, investing sustainable finance, I think that is critical to get you a first job. I think that is the starting point, right? Once you get into your first job, then obviously you will be exposed to many more things, and then you can pivot and move around within the entire green skill space, right? There's so much to do. And if someone has experience and wants to get into this field, like something like what I did, right? So you obviously have to understand what function excites you, how can you add a layer of sustainability in that.
Okay.
And getting a prerequisite is getting a degree, right? Because that is your first starting point of entering this space, right? Then you can choose to specialize. So if you want to do carbon accounting, you get further into that topic and get into further
You learn more basically.
learn more on that topic. You want to do climate risk, there are various climate models available, right? So you get to understand that, right? If you want to get to the tech aspect of it, right? Well, you need to understand what ESG sustainability is, and then how do you develop a tech for it, right? Similarly, for anything such as value chain or for reporting. So I think the starting point should be getting a certification, right? uh, Getting whatever job you get in this field, just because I think practical experience is very, very important, right?
Right.
Today theoretically obviously you will have everything, but getting your hands on
So
practical
how do we do
experience.
that? Because a lot of people say that okay, I've done the certification, but there are no projects available. So how is there a way? I mean, they can get that practical hands-on experience.
I don't see any dearth of opportunities, right?
Okay.
To be honest, I think it's about reaching out to the right set of people,
Mhm.
uh, having your visibility, right, in terms of doing the various courses that are there. And I just think that, reading as much as possible, right, to understand this space and what exactly would you want, and then targeting these companies. Because see, ultimately, all companies need to have a net zero plan,
Right.
right? Like I mentioned, the top 1,000 companies need to report on
Right.
sustainability. They have started asking their value chain partners, which are the
Right.
smaller companies. So even the smaller companies need to be aware of this, right?
Right.
It is just expanding in terms of the scope, right? So I think targeting companies categorically in the space that interests you, very important. And also understanding what your calling is, right? What exactly interests you is important, and then doing a selected targeting. And obviously there are a lot of openings in consulting, right? Consulting, there are various openings, right, that
Okay.
one can take. And I think interpersonal skills also matter a lot, right? Because like I mentioned, sustainability is a team sport, right? You have to interact and deal with various functions, right?
Right.
So I think that is, again, that something someone can work upon, and can help them land their first job.
Right. Right. Now, with respect to the skill set, if I want to succeed in the consulting space, specific to sustainability, what two or three things I should keep in mind?
If you want to succeed in the consulting space, I would personally say keep learning, because the subject is so new and it's evolving so rapidly. Like I myself, take out time to read, to upskill myself, reskill myself, right? Reskilling, upskilling, very, very important. Keep reading on this subject, right? Because like I mentioned, each client has their own journey in sustainability. They will demand for a specific requirement, right? And you need to be well aware of the entire solution service offering within ESG and sustainability. And I think stay connected. I think there are a lot of matters, a lot of research material available online. A lot of podcasts that one can listen to, right? So your Spotify, on YouTube, that you can listen to, that I personally use for, just to be in touch with whatever's happening globally. What are the use cases, and how can you, learn from all of that?
Now, with respect to, we talked about the skill set, right? You have been interviewing a lot of people
Yeah.
into your consulting journey. What are the biggest mistake that people do? Okay, if they want to enter into consulting, or if they want to enter into the sustainability space, what mistakes do they do, and what you expect when somebody comes for an interview?
The mistake that one does is looking at things in silo, right?
Okay.
So I think having a more broader perspective and having how does sustainability impact the overall business,
Hmm.
right? I think that is very, very important. So understanding that, how can it impact the entire business is important, and how can you leverage, right? So don't be an expert in one field, right? I say that, if someone is just starting off, try to learn much more into sustainability, right? From
Okay.
climate risk to GHG accounting to reporting to ratings, right? And try to have a more holistic approach rather than just focusing on a few things. And again, it's a team sport. Your interpersonal skills will take you far. Keep learning. Your technical skills is there, but keep sharpening it as you move ahead.
Okay.
Right. In this subject, there are various courses that are coming up, I think, every year or two. I think keeping yourself well aware of that
Right.
and trying to do that, be it a paid one, be it a free one, right? I think it just adds to the entire value.
Okay, perfect. One advice that has changed your life.
So I think I got this advice long back, but which has stuck with me is the importance of understanding what the broader macro trends are, right?
Okay.
So, like I mentioned, you need to understand where the smart money is flowing.
Hmm.
You need to understand what the government is today promoting, subsidizing, and what are those sunrise sectors,
Right.
right? So, like I said earlier, so obviously there's a big push by government, the SEBI, on this matter. If you see the top companies in India today, be it the Reliance, Tata's, JSW, the Birla Group, right? They all are pivoting to green energy, renewable energy. Some of them
Right.
are getting to EV vehicles, setting up solar farms, right?
Right.
Hydrogen is again. So I think that is a trigger for me, understanding where
Okay.
smart money is moving. And globally, if you see, investors have started asking for this, right? So I think that was the reason why I pivoted, and I understood well earlier that this is something that is going to be there for the next 20, 30 odd years, right?
Right.
Because 2050 is a net zero, right? Everyone needs to have a net zero plan before that. Everyone needs to
Right.
understand climate, right? And what we started witnessing very close to us, right, is on the entire climate scenario and how things are changing.
Hmm.
We started actually feeling in the last few years. I think
Okay.
the advice would be just ensure and be aware of what's happening, and then try to link it to your work.
Interesting. We have one last section, which is a
Yeah.
rapid fire
Yeah.
section. So you have to answer fast. Okay.
Yeah.
Your go-to resource for keeping up with the ESG trend: book, blog, or platform?
So I follow this guy called Akshat Rathi. He has a very good matter on sustainability and ESG, right? So he has his podcast. He's got good write-ups. So I think he's someone that you probably you should follow. Apart from that, the WEF, World Economic Forum, publishes a lot of information, right? They recently published climate inaction and how if you don't act, what will be the repercussions of that, and the countries which act will thrive and the companies which don't will stay
Okay.
behind. So I think these two are my go-to.
Next question: Excel, Power BI, or any ESG software your daily must-have tool?
I think none of them. They are all outdated. It's a mandatory to know
Okay.
Excel and Power BI. I think Gen AI is the future.
Okay.
I think anyone who's starting up is very, very important to understand the importance of technology that can be embedded, right? It can not only improve your productivity and efficiency, but it can also help you understand, analyze much more than what probably you can do. So I think
Right.
understanding basic things like even prompt engineering, right, to the larger use cases of Gen AI and embedding that into sustainability,
Okay.
very, very important.
A certification you recommend, but not enough people know about.
So I would highly recommend the SCR, right?
Hmm.
Sustainability and Climate Risk by Gartner Institute. I think I would highly recommend that. It gives you a very good understanding of everything within ESG and sustainability, firstly. And uh, it is rigorous. It is not easy. It is rigorous, right? So it requires effort. uh, and I think, yeah, overall, it just enhances your understanding on this subject, right? The way they ask you in the examination, but overall the matter is so in depth and well articulated that I think it's very, very useful.
Okay, interesting. One thing you look for when hiring freshers in ESG space.
Certification obviously gives you an edge above the others who don't have a certification, right? That is one thing. And second
Hmm.
is obviously, if you have any internship that you've done in this subject domain, obviously helps. If you've done any uh, assignment project in your final year, second year, right? So obviously all of that helps. And your interpersonal skills, I think I rate that very, very highly, because this
Yes.
subject requires you to deal with a lot of people, right? So stakeholder management and interpersonal skills are very, very
Okay.
important.
One most underrated skill in the ESG consulting space.
Like I mentioned, stakeholder management is what I feel. So, see, having technical knowledge, very, very important, but having stakeholder management ability, right, which basically sets you apart from the other guys. Because, see, it's a team sport, you have to deal with people from
Hmm.
various functions.
Right.
That is a given, right? How do you manage that effectively, efficiently, being able to persuade them, right? So I think stakeholder management is very, very important. That comes with time, right? So I think that
Mhm.
happens over time. So technical skills are obviously needed, but I think this is something that is probably underrated in my opinion.
Wonderful. This conversation will definitely help a lot of young people, students who wish to enter into this space. So again, Raghav, thank you very much for taking our
No,
time.
thank you so much, Ganesh, for having me. Thanks a lot.